What is up, YouTube? I know I haven't posted a video in a hot second, but today we are back with a banger and we're talking about Paul Krugman, everyone's favorite economist, and his ridiculous comments about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So let's go ahead and hash it out. So guys, Paul Krugman, he's actually a Nobel Prize winning economist who is really pretty much known for his disdain for Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency projects. He thinks the whole thing's a farce, and he's gone so far as to call it evil and basically saying that it's completely useless. And he's actually just released some more wonderful nonsense that we can go through and laugh at together. Let me go ahead and use my little internet machine and go ahead and check this out for you guys. So the headline is, Bitcoin is erasing 300 years of monetary evolution. Let's just take a moment to think about what was just said. A Nobel Prize winning economist has made that claim. Now, I don't actually fully blame this guy because at the end of the day, he's part of a regime of people that thinks Bitcoin is only good for black market transactions. Basically, Krugman's point here is that money has moved towards more of a frictionless, more advanced structure since the past 3 centuries of money. And I somewhat agree with that. We've created a system now that's relying on technology, relying on, really sophisticated data modeling, all sorts of things. We've made huge progress. And one of the main complaints that Krugman has against Bitcoin is its exorbitant amounts of fees, so transaction fees, as a result of being reliant on mining and the inefficient process therein. Now, that is a completely fair criticism of Bitcoin. It is expensive to operate. There's no question about that. But to say that it's not more frictionless than our banking system really begs the question, how frictionless and how cost effective is our current banking system? Well, I saved you guys the trouble of looking all that up. Just for a few facts and figures to paint this a little bit for you, it costs per annum, so every single year, $4.3 billion to run our Federal Reserve banking system. That's just that one piece of our financial system. Very complex system, that is. It also costs $4 billion just for little community banks, not the big ones, not the Chase, the Bank of America, etc. $4 billion plus just to comply with compliance. So that's reporting, making sure that they comply with different regulations that have been imposed by the government. I'm not saying regulations are bad, I'm saying it's very expensive to run these banks. That's also not inclusive of how much money it costs just to pay people to do manual processing. When you want to open a bank account, you have to go somewhere and sit down with someone and spend the time. Those people have to get paid, they have to be fed, they have to be housed, etc. That's what we rely on for our banking system. That's expensive. And then think about the customer's expense. Just to have a checking account, you could pay upwards of $200 to $300 per year depending on what type of structure you have with your bank. That's pretty expensive. It doesn't cost you really anything to have a wallet on a cryptocurrency blockchain network at all. It doesn't cost anything. You just have to have a home computer, and most people have that already. Now, you start to think also about transferring money. It costs money to transfer money. If you ever have sent money to someone overseas, it takes forever. A lot of times, you really have no transparency into the process. You're just like, hey, a week later, did it show up? Did the person get it? And you're probably paying between $30 and $50, maybe more, to send that money. You have to jump through a load of hoops. And that's the thing. Does all that sound like a cost-effective, frictionless environment? Doesn't to me. And that's what I have a big issue with when we think about what Krugman's saying here. Saying Bitcoin, mind you, which is a proof of concept that's, in my opinion, more successful than any proof of concept that I can think of, is not an adequate replacement for our system. No, it isn't, nor was it intended to be, but it's the concept that will replace our current system. So to say that Bitcoin's devolving our evolution of money, I'm baffled by that. The thing is that there will always be people like Krugman who just hate something invariably that really don't actually understand what it is, why it's important, and why it's better than what we already have. And I'm making this video mostly to prove to you that when you hear something like this, it's not just discounted. You have to hear what people are saying. But you always have to research and learn to determine whether or not what these people are saying is legitimate or not. Now here's another really interesting argument for the good old US dollar, really any other currency on earth. Krugman says that Bitcoin has no tether, has no backing value. But the US dollar, on the other hand, or really other fiat currencies, they're backed by men with guns. Are you joking? The reality is, value is not derived from fear alone. We as a country in the United States and other countries around the world create value not because they are simply feared, but because they create things. They have a market. They do things that are important for the world. That's why currencies have value. Just because we have guns does not mean our money's worth a lot. And for Krugman to say that, it's almost to the point that it's like kind of anti-American if you think about it, because what we have to offer is not just aggression, but beyond that, you start to think about Bitcoin having value because people assign it value. There are thousands upon thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of people now that assign Bitcoin a legitimate value. The fact that individuals are willing to trade their backed by guns US dollars or backed by guns Great British pounds to buy Bitcoin means that it has value. So to discount it and say that it's unbacked and it's garbage is just short-sighted and stupid. And I think the final thing that I'd like to answer, and this is really a direct answer to Paul Krugman, because he says, I still have yet to see what problem Bitcoin solves. And my answer is pretty simple. If you don't see a problem or any problem with our current system, then I'm not wasting my time discussing it with you. Because at the end of the day, I've actually seen conversations on Twitter between people in the Bitcoin environment, people in the cryptocurrency world, and Paul Krugman going back and forth and back and forth. And to be honest with you, I've really noticed it's a waste of time. Because if people do not see the problem with the current state of things, people don't see areas for improvement, why bother trying to talk about the solutions? Because they haven't accepted the problems yet. So I say to you, rather than spending your time tweeting at Paul Krugman after this video and saying, you suck, which I'm sure a lot of people will still do, rather I would sit down on your really cool internet communication computer thing and I'd look up stuff about Bitcoin, look up stuff about the banking industry, learn about the problems, and decide for yourself. Do you think there are problems with our current system, and do you think Bitcoin can help solve that to make it stronger, more efficient, more secure, more frictionless, dare I say? You decide. I know I have my opinions, but I want to hear from you, so leave it in the comments below what you think about this very topic. And I want to close with this. If any of you remember seeing anything about how many business people, how many economists, how many world leaders, really the influencers of the time, thought that the internet and computers were the worst thing to happen to business. They were going to be super slow, they fill up a room, they're too expensive, whatever they could think of to make it seem like they were the wrong answer. All the way over to, I'm better than a computer, my brain's better, I can write, I can think for myself, whatever. And look what happened. Everyone uses computers. I was able to look up this article about Paul Krugman in a quarter of a second. I didn't have to waltz over to the library or flip on the radio to hope it comes up. I was able to find it right away. And that's pretty much all the proof that you need that those people were wrong. They were short-sighted. They weren't thinking about the benefits. They were looking at an isolated instance of a computer in 1980 where it filled up a room and it was super expensive and super slow, and couldn't think that an evolution of that technology could change everything. And that's what I want to leave you with. Bitcoin is just the beginning, and it is going to evolve our current banking system, not devolve it. Now guys, if you really like this video, or if you want to learn everything you can about blockchain, cryptocurrency, and everything in between, smash that subscribe button and do not forget to leave a like and comment below. Thank you guys very much. Cheers.